Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome back to our Edmonton Oilers Throwback 2010 franchise mode here in NHL 25. So last episode, if you did not catch it, we had free agency, and we also started up briefly the season for 2013-14, and the team is 3-1-1 in our first 5 games, which is nice to see, but one thing that's been a constant through those 5 games is you can see that we're really right now a good defensive team. We haven't been good offensively, so I'm not too sure exactly if that's going to entail into the rest of the season, but it could be an interesting year for this team. Obviously, we do have a very solid young roster now, and we are still looking to build it up, of course, but I'm excited to see how these guys progress. Like, we have a lot of young talents in our top 6 now, as you can see with Nyquist, Cameron, and Eberle. Second line having Jacobov, who we just signed in free agency. Excited to see how he does next to Nathan McKinnon, and then also Andrew Cogliano. Third line, we have Hagelin, Brule, and Toffoli, so nice to have Tyler Toffoli jump onto our lineup, of course, because him, Jacobovs, and Eberle as right wingers is pretty fantastic, I would say. And then a fourth line of Hodgson, Marcoux, and Abdelkader, so a pretty young forward group. The defensive group definitely still needs a lot of work, I would say. This is the one area that definitely I'm not too fully sold on. It's been a good start defensively this season, but I don't expect it to continue like that because guys like Safronov technically maybe should be more as a depth defenseman, but we are already using him as a top 2 defenseman next to Justin Falk. We did also sign Chris Russell as a filler player, but also we do have young defensemen in Merrick Kalinka playing at 18 years old. So hopefully some of those young guys get some good growth this season. And in our goaltending, Devin Newnick has actually just jumped back up to an 84. He was an 80 to start the season, but he has jumped back up to an 84, and he's been off to a really good start in his first 5 games. So we'll see if he continues to play like that or not. Behind him, we do have a young Philip Grubauer, and AHL-wise, Andrei Vasilevsky might get a chance to come up this season depending on what we decide to do with our goaltenders and all that. Also, you can see our AHL team's pretty stacked, so we are definitely building up quite well, especially in the offensive area, I think. Definitely need to start targeting some more defensemen, and not necessarily goalie prospects, but definitely more defensemen to kind of help with, obviously, that defensive core, because that defensive core still looks weak, but they are simulating good right now, which could be just a little bit of a fluke. But anyways, before we simulate more of the 2013-14 season, let's get in your guys' comments, see what you guys have to say about last episode, and then we're going to probably jump into a game right away because I do want to get a screenshot of Jordan Eberle so that way I could use him in the thumbnail, because that's why I made it Sam Gagner black and white in the last episode thumbnail. If you guys didn't know, it was just because I didn't have an actual photo of Jordan Eberle playing for the Oilers in this, so we'll definitely do that. We'll probably also get like a screenshot of maybe Nathan McKinnon and a couple other people, so that way we have options to go to once we use those guys instead as the thumbnail athletes. But anyways, the first comment is from Michael Dose, who says, really like how you're building the forwards and goaltending, but next year or via trades, I would focus on looking for outstanding defenders. And yeah, that's definitely an area of need, as I was just mentioning. That's probably why I mentioned it. But yeah, we definitely need to look into defensive prospects for our team, because obviously Safronov and Falk, I mean, Safronov's only got top 6 potential, so it's not like he's going to become probably an elite defenseman. But we do have Justin Falk, obviously, who's got medium 4 potential, so he's not too bad. Spiza is relatively young still at 23. He could still be a solid top 6 option next to Safronov, maybe. Halinka's got top 4 potential, so maybe he could become something. And then Petrie's already 25, so I don't expect him to really get much better than this, but he is a solid point producer, so hopefully he could start getting some better defensive results, because you can see his plus-minus has definitely been an issue these last 2 seasons for us, so we'll see if he continues to develop or not. And in the system, we don't really have a ton of defensemen. We do have Zherdev, who's getting close, which is nice. We do have some guys that are like low 4s and medium 6s, but I don't know necessarily if those guys are going to develop or not. So I'm hoping that obviously we could add some more defensive prospects, and then hopefully some of those guys can make our defensive core better, especially if we get an elite defenseman. That would definitely help out quite a bit, probably with the offense or the defensive play from the back end. And the next comment is from Tyler G, 1994, who says, my boy GDD going to the Thrashers. And yes, sir, Jeff Delorier went to the Thrashers. I don't know if he's actually playing on their NHL team or if he's in the AHL for them. But when I saw that, I was immediately like, I'm like, damn, Tyler's going to like this. So if we go to goalies, yeah, he's in the AHL, I guess, because Pavlik and Kudobin are the 1-2 punch. But who knows, maybe he'll get a chance to get called up for the Thrashers if there's any injuries to their goaltenders. But it's kind of interesting that he's still in the Thrashers organization regardless. The next comment is from Sour Taco. It says, Nashville signing old guys from their roster just like they did in real life last season. We'll have to see if it turns out any better for them in the simulated team. As far as your squad, slow sim the season. If it's going to be particularly bad again, or if he's doing exceptionally well like he is now, trade Dubnyk and bring in Vasi as the backup. So if we're doing really bad, or if basically Dubnyk's doing very good, we should probably look to trade him, which is definitely something we'll look into, obviously, because Vasilevsky's technically listed as a backup goaltender right now, so he should be probably up here at this point, but we might wait to the halfway point of the season. Obviously, if we make a trade at the trade deadline for getting rid of Dubnyk, Vasilevsky can come up and play the rest of the season in the NHL instead of playing in the minors. And like he was saying, Nashville did add a lot of old players to the roster. Kind of an interesting thing with them is they drafted second overall. They picked up Alexander Barkov with that second overall pick, but then they surrounded him with some veterans. They brought in Scott Hartnell for that team, Paul Correa. They also brought in Timo Solani, who's actually going to be a scratch. Where is Solani? Where did I see Solani? I thought Solani was there. Wasn't Solani in Nashville? Where is he? Did he get sent to the AHL, or am I just blind? Let me just double check that. Yeah, he's not on that forward group. He might have got sent out to the AHL after the preseason. That's kind of strange. Let me actually take a look down in the AHL then for the Nashville Predators, and we'll see if he's down in Milwaukee or not. I didn't realize that, so there are some actually pretty good players still in the AHL, like Andre Palat apparently. But let's go to Milwaukee. And Solani is in the AHL now. That's a real big disappointment that Nashville would do that. But they also have Joel Ward down there. Matt Cullen's playing in the AHL. So there's definitely some really good talent in the AHL that should probably be still on an NHL roster, but isn't. So maybe we'll be able to trade for some players down the road if they're getting utilized in the incorrect way. But like Andrew Raycroft's playing in the minors too. Goddamn. So a lot of veterans are down there, regardless of team. Like, if we go to a random team, like, let's just go to the Iowa Chops for fun. I guess they're maybe more of an AHL roster. Like, they're not utilizing somebody that should be in the NHL. Doesn't look like it, at least. Joey McDonald, maybe. But some of these teams are utilizing guys that shouldn't be in the AHL. But maybe that was the only example of that. Because the rest of these teams, I mean, Panarin in the AHL, I guess maybe makes sense for one more year. Kind of crazy that the Thrashers have him still coming. So he's going to definitely help them out a lot when they get there. But, like Milan Hajduk being an AHLer, it kind of sucks, but he is dropped off a lot. So I guess it kind of makes sense for the Islanders. But still, kind of weird when you see guys like that in the minors that are used to just seeing in the NHL and not in the minors whatsoever. And the last two and final comments are from Jared the Rabbit. The first one says, Russell played with Edmonton from 2016 to 2022. And yeah, when we brought in Chris Russell, I knew that he played for the Oilers. I just didn't realize it was that long that he actually was an Oiler. But obviously, if we go to our NHL team, you can see he's on our second pairing. We're basically giving him the treatment that he did in real life, because he did also play for the Blues in this series a little bit. Briefly, he was a trade deadline acquisition last year for them. Did get some playoff experience with them as well, so that's kind of a nice little defenseman to pick up. I don't know how long-term he's going to be with us in this franchise mode, but obviously he's a nice kind of filler piece while we wait for some of our defensive prospects to develop. And lastly, Jared says, Rangers, what are you doing with Cooch? You sure you're not tanking his potential? And yeah, I don't know what the Rangers were doing with Nikita Kucherov. They had him on the third line, at least at the preseason round. So if we go to view lines right now, do they still have him as a third line guy to actually be in the season? Like, let's take a look at this for fun. So they have him actually as a second liner now. Okay, so I guess it was just for the preseason. Kucherov was more of a third liner, but Evgeny got moved to the second from the second to the fourth line, basically, which is interesting. But Kucherov should be okay with his ice time now since he's in the top six. Obviously, he's still living behind Marian Gaborik, but Gaborik's only signed for one more year, so Kucherov is in a prime position to take that top line spot, play next to Roy and Forsberg. So Philip Forsberg, obviously, on his top line still is going to be nasty. He's already got 5 points in 6 games in his second season so far. So, oh my goodness. Yeah, this Rangers team is going to be pretty damn good. Like, I definitely think they could go for a Stanley Cup in 2014 here. Kucherov's point per game. He's also on their power play. He would be on, yeah, he's on that first power play unit. It's an all-forward power play unit. That's an interesting choice by the Rangers, too. Because usually you see at least a defenseman on a unit, but they have Roy, Kucherov, Evgeny, Gaborik, and Forsberg. I mean, it could work. It could definitely work. Their second power play has one defenseman on it, and that's Curtis Foster playing with Lupul, Robert Nilsson, our former player, Dubinsky, and Vaclav Prospal. But yeah, basically Kucherov should be okay with his ice time and his production. At least he's not down on a third line like he was at the preseason. So maybe when we take a look at lines in the future, we should wait till the actual start of the season, because it seems like some teams make some adjustments before they start up the season. So anyways, there is all that. Let's hop into this first game against Tampa coming up here, because we do need to get a screenshot of at least Jordan Eberle. I'd like to get a couple other screenshots, potentially too. We don't need Chris Summers, who's on waivers. We'll decline that. But yeah, we do need some screenshots of some players for the potential thumbnails. Who is this? Boyd Gordon? Yeah, Boyd Gordon on waivers. Don't need him either, even though he was an Oiler at one point. Let's just go into play game, and we will jump on in and get some screenshots here. Let's just make sure we have the jersey that would be a bit more accurate to this time period. So we'll go to the 2016-17s. And we don't really care about Tampa's too much, because we're not going to watch this entire game. We're just getting into this game to basically grab some screenshots and then back on out. It might screw up with some of the stats, but I'd prefer to just get some screenshots of these guys playing so we can put them in the thumbnail and all that down the road. So anyways, this should be interesting just to see some of our guys out there for a little bit. It's kind of weird jumping into a regular season game, because normally I don't do this too often. I wanted to jump into a preseason game, but I forgot to do that in last episode, so that's why we're going to do this now instead. Cameron out there to start. We should probably get a screenshot of Cameron and both and Eberle. Nathan McKinnon doesn't need a screenshot yet, so those are really the two guys I really need to get here, is those guys. So let's first get Jordan Eberle, because he's probably going to be the thumbnail for this episode and for some future episodes. So let's just try and get him on a nice little plane here all by himself. That's probably a perfect screenshot for the thumbnail. Boom, we'll go with that. And then I also need one of Cameron. Oh, Cameron's a black guy. Okay, that's cool. I didn't know what he looked like at all, because this is the first time we've seen our guy out there. So let's try and get a nice screenshot of Cameron as well. So he looks like that. I don't really want to have the other guy's head in behind, but we are going to be cropping him out regardless. I want to make it easier so I could cut this out in Photoshop easier. So maybe we should get him a little bit later. Let's just get him going towards the net. But yeah, interesting. I'd never seen what Cameron looks like, or any of these young guys that obviously we drafted recently. So it's going to be cool to see what they look like full time, I guess. But Cameron kind of looks like the Colson wearing number 92 now, because I'm used to watching the Oilers in the playoffs right now. So let's go something like that maybe for Mr. Cameron and grab a screenshot of that. Perfect. All right, so that's the only screenshots I needed for this episode. So I'm going to just back on out of everything, and we will see what the score ends up being in that game. But needed to get a couple screenshots at least for some thumbnail cover athletes. The answer to that game, we win 3-1. Nice. So our team's 4-1-1 in our first 6. So if we continue to play this good defensively, and we actually are still doing really well, Devin Dubnyk's value hopefully should go up, and then we could obviously make some trades. But let's take it slow, like Samartaku was mentioning, and we'll see if this team continues to play this good, or if they're going to eventually fall off. Because right now, I don't know if it's just because we made some coaching adjustments that were simulating this good, or if our team's actually starting to become a good team already. I don't think we're that good already, but let's go through the next 3 games. Nashville 2 times and Phoenix once. Let's see if we can win these games as well. Nashville is going to be a 4-1 loss. Okay, that might be a start of the bad stuff for our team. 3rd and a 4th for Bergenheim, a 4th and a 6th. I don't have any use for adding players right now, but I appreciate the offer there at Colorado. Phoenix 3-2 shootout win. Payarvi's been injured with a fractured jaw down in Springfield. That kind of sucks. We'll go replace a player on that. And we got another game against Nashville in Nashville. We win that one in overtime. 6-2-1 in our first 9 games. I am pretty surprised with how good we've been playing defensively. Our only bad game defensively was that 4-1 loss, really. So our team's still playing good. Eventually it should fall off, right? Because we are literally first place in the Northwest Division all of a sudden, without a good roster yet, I'd say fully. But maybe our offensive core is doing better or something. But let's go through the next 3 games. We got LA, Buffalo, and Phoenix. See if we could start to fall off, or if we're going to continue to play good this entire first month. We beat the Kings, who just won the Cup 5-1. We beat Buffalo 4-1, and Phoenix we lose 5-2. So 2 bad defensive games in his first month so far, but our team is 8-3-1. Damn. This team has definitely taken a big step up already this year in a way, because we are 5 points already up on first place in first place in the Northwest. So let's go through these last 2 games of October, and we'll take a look at the team stats briefly. Again, St. Louis is a loss. Calgary's a win, though. 9-4-1 to start off the season. Kind of way better than anticipated. I think it has to be the coaching that is involved in this, but right now we are the 26th best offensive team through the first month. We're first in goals against, though. We're averaging under 2 goals against per game. That's got to get worse, right? There's no way it could just continue to play like that, I don't think, especially with our defensive core. And then our power play is dead last in the NHL. Our penalty kills 5th. So we're still a very good defensive team. And we are getting offense from a couple guys, though, too. Like Nathan McKinnon's leading us with 14 points right now in his rookie season. So that's interesting. That is interesting. So the coaches might be making us over-simulate too much. If we go to edit lines here, let's take a look at Dubnyk's stats again after the first month. But we might have to think about trading him early in the season if we want to fall off a bit, because he's been very locked in so far. He's got a .960 save percentage through 11 games. No shutouts, but an 8-1-1 record, a 1.35 goals against as well. He's been absolutely locked in, which is crazy. Wasn't expecting that, especially after last season. I mean, he did show a good glimpse a couple of years ago, actually, for that matter. That .913 save percentage when we missed the playoffs. But this year, he's looking like a good goaltender again. So his value might be going up. It might be going up, which means it might be good to trade him at some point. Obviously not this episode, but let's take a look at his trade value right now. Obviously right now it shouldn't be worth too much, but it should go up throughout the season if he continues to play like that. He has a good chunk of value, almost as much as elite goalie prospect Tuomainen, so which is interesting. And like I said, there is still a chance Vasilevsky could come up throughout the season if we move on from Dubnyk. Vasi down in the AHL so far has been getting better since we last looked. Good goals against. His save percentage needs to maybe improve a bit, but he is doing better than he was at the end of last episode. So let's continue to simulate a little bit more. We are going to definitely take the season a little bit slower, but I do expect our team's defensive play to start falling off soon. I just don't think we're that strong defensively with the defensive core we have, unless it's just the coaches that are making us simulate this good, but could be just our team's actually maybe better defensively than we anticipated. So we need to get PayRV back in, which PayRV would knock out... Who was it that was scratched? It was Anton Lander, I think, right? Or was it Leeson? It might have been Enver Leeson. Let me take a look. No, Leeson's been playing most of the games. Who was it that was scratched? I do not remember. Oh, wait. Was PayRV playing defense? Yes, he was. All right. Yeah, we'll take out Zach Boychuk out then. PayRV can play defense, I guess, technically, because he's a two-way forward, but not a best idea to have him there, but he's not a huge prospect anyways. He did have potential in real life to become something, but didn't. All right, let's see how we do in this next month of action. We'll probably go to at least December the 1st, maybe January the 1st in this episode, but depends on how the team simulates over the next stretch. So let's go through these next 6 games. We have Colorado 2 times, LA, Vancouver, Dallas, and Washington. We lose to the Kings 6-3. We beat Colorado 3-2. Safaronov was never injured. Vancouver 3-2 loss. Dallas 3-2 loss. Yeah, definitely now we're starting to fall off a little bit. You can definitely see we're starting to suffer those losses and not scoring still a lot. I think eventually our defensive play is going to catch up to us. But we're now 11-8-1. We did still win 2 games over Colorado, but Colorado's not a great team right now. So, yeah, this is definitely probably the downfall. Like, it was a good first month, but I don't think we're going to be able to maintain that all year round. Like, we're definitely not the best defensive team anymore, probably after those 6 games. But let's go through another 3 games, see what we do over this next stretch. Calgary, Nashville, and Phoenix. Calgary's a 5-2 victory. Nashville is a 1-0 loss. And then we went 2-1 in a shootout. So those are 3 good defensive games in a row. But we're 13-9-1. And we are still first place in our division by 7 points. Holy crap, man. I know we've played 3 more games than the Flames, 2 more games than some other teams, 4 more games than the Avs. But to be that many points up already is kind of insane. Like, our division looks insanely weak. Everybody's below 500 in our division, pretty much, except for us. The Flames are around 500 with the OT losses and stuff, but goddamn. Yeah, our division being that weak might mean a lot of teams from our division might miss the playoffs, because I feel like we still should fall off. But that means maybe some teams in this division will start to find themselves. Like, the Canucks shouldn't be simulating as bad as they are right now. They definitely will find themselves, and we won't, I'm guessing. Let's go through these next few games and go through the end of this month. We have 2 more games against the Canucks, another one against the Kings. We have Nashville and Detroit. And then we'll be at December the 1st and see what we're sitting at that point. We beat Vancouver 5-2. Yakupov has been injured with strained hamstring in the AHL. That's not great. Let's go replace player, though. And then Fado was never injured. But yeah, we beat the Canucks, which is surprising. We do beat the Kings again. Vancouver is a loss. Payarvi's now been injured with an upper body injury. Damn, he's getting injured a lot. Let's go replace player on that. 3rd and 4th for Hagman. A 5th and a 7th. I don't need Nicholas Hagman, but I appreciate it, Calgary. Lose to Nashville 3-1 there. Yakupov is back. I wonder how Nail is doing down at Springfield. Hopefully he's doing well, because I'm excited for some of these prospects like him to make the NHL team. Like Yakupov in the NHL soon, next to a good sniper, might be a good thing for him. We'll definitely take a look at the AHL stats after this episode too. And Detroit coming up is going to be a 3-2 win. So 16-11-1 at December the 1st. We are still first place in our division. Everybody in this Northwest division is below 500, except for us. So we need our division to all of a sudden get a lot harder or something like that, because we're almost 10 points up, and we've only played like 3 games more than most of these teams. I am really surprised that this team's been able to still continue winning games at this point, but obviously there's definitely going to be a fall off at some point, you'd expect, right? Like, if we look at our stats right now at December the 1st here, you can see we're still 28th in goals for. So we're still atrocious offensively, but we're still the best defensive team in the NHL. I don't know how we're this good defensively. Dubnyk's got it at 1.9 goals against average and a .942 save percentage. It's got to be Devin Dubnyk, basically. Damn. 28th on the power play, but 3rd on the penalty kill. And McKinnon leads us with 22 points in 20 whatever games this is at this point. Wow, in 28 games, I guess. So we're all over under point per game on our team, but we're playing good defensive hockey. I did not expect Dubnyk to be this good this season, especially with our defensive core in front of him. It's got to be related to coaching, I would assume. Because, yeah, Dubnyk is having a year where he might end up being a Vezina favorite if he continues like this. That's insane. I don't expect these numbers to maintain themselves much. Like, we should probably simulate another month just so we can see if those numbers drop off or not. But I definitely think this is probably the year to capitalize and trade him away, because he's maybe making us too good right now. Because if we look at Grubauer by comparison, Grubauer has an okay save percentage. His goals against is much higher, though. And then the win-loss ratio obviously sucks. So... And if we go to the AHL here, Vasilevsky could probably play in the NHL now. He pretty much is still maintaining that .906 save percentage, but his goals against is improving. Interesting. All right, let's go back to NHL for a second. Yeah, I feel like this team is definitely doing way better than anticipated. I mean, we do have, I guess, a solid forward group when you look at it on paper in terms of depth. Like, our top 9 is pretty good. Our fourth line's also pretty solid, so... I can maybe see why we're actually simulating this good, but we haven't been scoring a lot of goals. Like, we're more of a defensive first team. Is anybody else getting crazy growth? Safronov's up to a 77, so he's getting growth. Holinka's up to a 79. Huh. Yeah, I don't really understand why this team's playing good defensively. I would expect this team to be good offensively, but not in the defensive zone. So, that's interesting. Alright, do we want to continue to simulate more and find out if this team's going to drop off or not? If I went find trade right now, what would be the return for somebody like Devin Dubnyk, out of curiosity? Like, his value is right around the same as it was still before. But still the trade offers for somebody like Devin Dubnyk, not very good, which is kind of surprising. Obviously, we can make our own deals, but... None of these offers are that insane. I mean, we could get Zizekas in as a prospect, but then we'd also get Troy Brouwer, which we don't really need. St. Louis at this point is dropping off a lot. Daniel Alfredson's dropping off a lot. Most of it's veteran-based. Like, I don't think any of these deals really make much sense. Like, we'd have to trade for picks or something like that, but it seems like a lot of teams aren't really willing to give up a ton for Devin Dubnyk, which is kind of strange with how good he's been this season. So, let's maybe simulate a little bit more. I don't want to simulate too much in this episode, so I think we're going to go to, like, maybe January 1st, and we'll see what we're like at that point. See if this team can maintain itself. But I still feel like we're going to fall off at some point. It's got to be some point that we fall off, right? Like, we've been really good defensively, but that defensive core on paper is pretty mid, so it shouldn't be that good. Unless our forwards know how to play good defensively, too, or something like that. But let's go through these next 4 games, see if our team drops off at all, or if they're going to continue to play good. And we're going to just decline that offer because we don't need to bring back Sean Horkoff. We beat Calgary 3-2. Man, our division is so weak, and it's making us look like a good team, I think. We beat the Rangers 3-2 as well. PayRV is back for Springfield, so that's good news. But yeah, this team is over-simulating, and we don't really still have, I would say, the best prospect pool on defense, so I don't know if I really like that we're actually playing this good right now. I do, but I don't. Like, I like to see the young guys succeed, but at the same time, I don't really want to be a playoff team yet, but we might end up being a playoff team already because of our defensive play. Shootout loss, shootout win, 19-11-2. God damn. Oh my god, we're literally 12 points up on the Avs for first in our division. And if we actually, let's go to the standings here briefly too. I don't actually want to take a look at player stats on our team yet, but I want to go to standing stuff. Wow, Eberle's on 27 points now, goddamn. If we go to the entire league, actually, let's just go Western Conference. If we go based off points percentage here, you can see currently we are the 5th best team in the Western Conference on points percentage, which is pretty insane. We've also played probably around the most amount of games in the West, though, so maybe that hurts us a little bit. But you look at our win percentage, our points percentage, 62.5. The teams that are outside of the playoffs right now are literally on 50% or below. So we're literally like 12.5% better in points percentage than all those teams that are outside of the playoffs, basically. So I don't really know what to say about that, man. LA and Chicago, Detroit are doing good, but why the hell are we all the way up there already in 2013-14? That's insane. Like, we're already doing better than a lot of these other teams that I thought would be better. Like, Nashville added a lot, yet they're worse than us. The worst team in the West right now is the Minnesota Wild, who are dead last. Who's dead last in the entire league at the moment? It's Minnesota. And Vancouver's second last. Like, how is Vancouver doing this bad? It's kind of weird. Like, I didn't expect them to be that low. A lot of teams in our division, though, are way down there in the standings. There might be a chance that we actually make the playoffs this year at this rate. But obviously, it could still just fall off completely in the second half, which I'm kind of hoping for, or if we trade away Dubnyk. But let's simulate more. We'll get to the end of this month and see what our stats are looking like. But let's go through 5 more games here. We have some games against Minnesota coming up. They should be easy wins, potentially. Shaw's been injured in the AHL. Let's go replace player on that. St. Louis coming up is a 6-2 loss. That's pretty bad. Pittsburgh's an 8-1 loss. Okay, this might be the downfall finally. It might be. But I said that before and it wasn't. So, but the fact that we just lost those 2 games badly in terms of allowing a lot of goals against, that might mean we're not going to win games. Maybe we had our first half be really good, and now we're going to start to fall off. But let's see. Dallas coming up. We don't care about adding Sakko Koivu to this team. Dallas, 4-0 loss. That's another bad game. Minnesota's a 4-3 OT win. Dallas is a 3-2 win. Okay, so we had 3 bad games in a row, but now we're starting to respond again. So our team doesn't let these losses pile up, I guess, for the most part. Nyquist was never injured. Let's go continue. Still don't need Sakko Koivu on this team because we're not trying to win a Stanley Cup necessarily right now. We lose to Minnesota in a game, which is kind of surprising because they're bad. We lose to LA, but we beat Detroit. So a little bit of a rough end to that month. But going into 2029, we are 22-16-2, which has us only 4 points now up on the Avs. So the Avs are catching up to us. And then the Flames are starting to catch up a little bit too. But the Canucks and the Wild are absolutely bad. So I don't know if we're going to finish as a bottom 2 team in this division. But if we look at our playoff numbers now, where are we now in terms of like stats and all that? So we're still third in goals against. So our defensive play obviously dropped off a little bit, but we're still a good defensive team. Penalty kills solid. It's our offense that's obviously dragging this team down for the most part, but we're still winning, which is surprising. So let's go to some stats and see the points percentage in the Western Conference again. I feel like we might have to move Dubnyk next episode if we want to fall out of the playoffs. Because right now we are 5th place in the Western Conference on 57.5 points percentage. And that has us still not as much actually on teams. Technically, on points percentage, we're only now 2.5% better than the Dallas Stars, who are outside of the playoffs. And they're trying to get back in. Actually, no, Dallas is in the playoffs right now. It's Colorado that's close to us that's outside of the playoffs. There's definitely a chance that we could get leapfrogged in terms of the playoff race soon. But our team is still in a pretty good spot right now. It's just the offense, obviously, that's making us bad. So we guess we have our fate in our hands. If we offload Dubnyk and if we find a way to get rid of like Brule even for that matter, or somebody like that, I think our stats should drop off enough that we should miss the playoffs. So maybe that's what we want to do if we want to fall out of the playoff mix again, because I don't think we want to be a playoff team already. So that's potentially a play for us to make. I actually want to take a look at some like stats around the league here briefly too, actually, for that matter. The best team right now in the league is the Pittsburgh Penguins, who are 32-8. God damn. Pittsburgh, Montreal, LA, St. Louis. All right, for the 2013-14 Cup. Minnesota's dead last at the moment. Dead last. Vancouver's second worst. God damn. I'm really surprised Vancouver's that bad. Didn't expect it. Philadelphia has dropped off a cliff too, because obviously, you know, year number 1 they would have went to the Cup Finals in real life, but they have dropped off considerably by 2014. Toronto's doing atrocious too, which is kind of weird because they have made the playoffs in this universe. Islanders are bad. Blue Jackets, damn. There's some really bad teams. Where are the Rangers? Okay, the Rangers are a top team almost too in the league, top 11. So maybe we will get Rangers King Stanley Cup Finals or something like that early into this franchise mode. That would be pretty cool if that's the case. All right, also briefly, we need to take a look at the AHL and see if our AHL team is doing good or not, which at the moment they are the 3rd best team in the league. So that's really good to see. Actually, no, the Atlantic Division, they are the... Where are they in terms of the entire league? I guess not the top of the league. Damn, they're 11th in the entire league, but 3rd in the division. But they are probably in a playoff spot right now, which is good. So that's kind of what we want to see from our top prospects, at least is making the Calder Cup playoffs. So in terms of stats this season, looks like Cameron's starting to take a big step up, which is really good to see. This is kind of what I wanted to see from this team, just in a way, like some of the young guys starting to produce. Cameron's on 30 points in 40 games. He's on on pace for around 60 points in his second season, which is a huge step up from last year, and he's +2. So yeah, Chase Cameron's looking like he's taking a big step up this year, and that's kind of good for our future. Nathan MacKinnon's on 26 points as a rookie through 40 games. That's really solid, up to an 84. Liking the way he's playing as well. Cogliano's on 22 points. Cogliano's actually had a pretty solid year. How much does he sign for still? Only 1 more year. Cogliano's also a potential guy we could look to trade if we want to trade away him, Brule, Dubnyk. But we could also hold on to him for a little bit longer if we want. Jankomov's on 15 points as a rookie. He's pretty solid. I like that. 10 goals, 5 assists. So he's definitely more of a goal scorer. Might hit 20 goals as a rookie. So he's looking solid next to Nathan MacKinnon. Marcoux on 15 points. I like that from Kenny Marcoux. Hodgson as a rookie, 12 points is pretty solid. Brule on 12 points. Brule's been the worst center on this team. And he's the one that I was thinking about trading because he's a pending free agent. Yeah, this might be the year to trade him away. We could end up using Hodgson as like a center instead. Marcoux could stay as a center if we want. Yeah, that might be the play. So yeah, Brule might be on the block. He might be on the block. He's also a -15 on this team. When you look at the centers right now in plus minus, Brule's by far the worst. lowest in point production and way worse plus minus than anybody else. So, yeah, Brule might be getting dealt. 5 of his 12 points have been on the power play too. So, aside from that, 5-on-5, he's been pretty atrocious. So, Brule is definitely, I think, on the block. Left wing side of things, Nyquist is on 26 points. Hagelin's on 14. Abdelkader's on 6. Not bad. Right wing side of things, Eberle's on 28, including 12 goals. He's only on pace for like maybe a 24-goal season, so maybe a bit less than last year, but should be getting better. He only has 3 power play points, so our power play's definitely been bad this year. And then Toffoli's on 13 points, which is pretty solid. All right. From a defensive standpoint, Petrie on 13 points. Not really getting a lot of points from our back end. Spiza's on 11 points, but minus 10. Oof. He's had a rough year. Falk on 11 points, plus 9. Safronov, 9 points, plus 10. Safronov's looking pretty good next to Justin Falk, which is surprising because I was not expecting him to be this good in the early stages of his career. Russell on 4 assists, no goals. Has he blocked a lot of shots, out of curiosity? 59 block shots. That's not the most block shots on our team. And then Halinka, 2 assists. He's not scored his first NHL goal yet. Definitely a pure DFD, but playing relatively good for a rookie, I would say. He's only getting 15 minutes of ice time a game. And then from a goaltending perspective, yeah, the goalies have been really good, especially Devin Dubnyk. He's still got a .925 save percentage at this point, so likely the guys that would be for sure on the block would be Brule and Dubnyk. Everybody else, I'm not too sure who I would move out. Like, I could maybe move out from Cogliano if I really want to, but I could also maybe just let him go to free agency this upcoming offseason. So, because we need to stay cap compliant. So, I'd say Dubnyk and Brule for sure could be moved. And then Vasilevsky could come up from the AHL if we want to. Yep, he's up to an 80 overall now. So, I think this is probably the best point to make that decision with the trade. And then bring up Vasilevsky to play with Grubauer instead. And then we'd have our 2 young goalies playing. And then Devin Dubnyk, I don't know where we would send him, but we could definitely see if we could find a trade for him. So there's that. Let's take a look at the stats around the league here briefly too, just for fun. So right now, leading in points, damn, man. Crosby's got 78 points in 40 games. Malkin's got 74 in 40. Holy moly. Crazy offense. Also, Derek Roy's up there in points because he's playing next to some really good players in New York. Crosby's already on 40 goals in 40 games too, which is insane. Ovechkin's only on 29. So Ovechkin's not doing as well this season, but he's doing good. But Crosby being a goal a game, he might hit an 80-goal season by the end of it, which is kind of insane. And then in terms of defensive point leaders right now, Drew Doughty's leading with 36 points, and that's the real Drew Doughty, not the one that was a rookie this season. Duncan Keith is also up there. John Carlson, Alex Pietrangelo. All right. Wow, even Slava Voinov's up there. It's crazy. Best goaltender so far in terms of wins is Fleury. Most shutouts so far is Carey Price with 6 shutouts in 33 games. Best save percentage by starter, Carey Price. And goals against average is once again Carey Price. So likely Carey Price at this rate might win a 2nd straight Vezina Trophy. So he's definitely one of the best goalies in the league at this point. Any goalie goals so far this season? No goalie goals. Most assists so far is Holtby with 3. All right. And then best rookie so far in terms of points is Kuznetsov in Calgary with 32. Jonathan Huberdeau is also up there with 32 in St. Louis. And McKinnon for us with 26. So there is a chance McKinnon could still win the Calder, but it's probably going to go to one of these 2 guys because of the plus minus, my guess. Barkov on 25 points. Ryan Ellis on 23. Damn, there's some pretty good youngsters this season. Damn. All right. So there's that. I do also briefly want to take a look at our AHL player stats here. If we go back to us first, let's go take a look at Springfield and see how Yakupov's doing. Yakupov's on 30 points in 36 games. That's not too bad. 17 assists, 13 goals. Is leading the team in goals. Looks like our depth scoring's pretty good down there in the minors, which is definitely what I was anticipating with the plus minuses and stuff. And the overall ratings. Janssen on 20 points. Damn. That's pretty good for a low 7th D. Pretty good. Damn. Okay. Zherdev on 18 points. And in goaltending, we saw this already. Danielson's been really good as a backup behind Vasi. Like, Danielson's even close to becoming an NHL goalie, too. So, we might have to think about some potential moves at some point. All right, so there is that. Let's do some fine trade stuff for Devin Dubnyk. Once again, the trade offers for Dubnyk last time we looked were not very good. Let's see if they've improved at all, or if we'll maybe have to find on our own. Dubnyk's value has jumped up quite a bit, actually, in this episode alone, because it used to be closer to 2 minutes, but now it's above that. So maybe we could get a good return for him. Minnesota is willing to give us a second and a third. Obviously, he did play for the Wild, so it could be interesting to send him to Minnesota, but Minnesota is a bad team, so I don't understand why they'd want to trade for him. The Islanders are willing to give us a second, a fourth, and Patrick Elias, which we don't want because Elias is old at this point. We don't want Martin St. Louis a third and Drew Miller. A third, Daniel Elfordson in the fourth. No, thank you. Burrows a fifth and a sixth. Mike Fisher. A second and a third from Tampa's not bad either. I'd probably look towards either Minnesota or Tampa's offer. However, maybe we need to adjust our trading block to see if there's any better offers. So let's go do that and adjust our trading block and see if maybe we could get a better offer thrown at us for those two guys. We'll just throw Dubnyk and Brule on the block for the time being, just so we could maybe get some offers potentially for these type of guys. But yeah, I'm hoping we can maybe get a good draft pick back for some of them, but I don't really know what to expect. So surplus, we're not going to worry about that. Want still, we're going to adjust this so that way we can maybe get some better offers thrown at us that better suit what we actually need. So we're going to go 17 to 27. We're going to go 3 to 5 stars and any forward, and then same with defensemen and goalies. And we're going to see if we can maybe get offered any prospects or something instead, because we don't really care about bringing in any veterans. Because at this rate, even though it looks like we could be a playoff team, I think there's a way definitely to make this team worse and make us miss. Vasilevsky could also come up to the NHL and make us really good, which might be scary, but I'm hoping that he doesn't adjust to the NHL super well right off the gate. So, you know what? Let's just keep all the picks involved on this too. So let's really go back to the fine trade option and see what Brule and Dubnyk could fetch us with our adjusted block. See if that maybe would give us a better offer for these guys. So Dubnyk, let's see, with this block adjusted, a second, a third, and some guy named D. Legwand, which is not David Legwand because it's a prospect. And that's not bad still. That adds a prospect at least to that deal. We don't really want Alex Burrows, and I do not care about that third rounder. Mike Fisher, no. A second, a medium 9, and a medium fringe. I don't need a goalie prospect. I don't really need another forward prospect. That second rounder is nice, but we could definitely readjust these trades. Like, we could definitely make a deal with Minnesota and maybe say the second and a third we'll just take it like they were offering before. Or we could do what Tampa's offering, do like a second, and maybe we move that second into maybe, I don't think I could get into a first round pick, but we can maybe get somebody else in terms of prospects back, like a defensive prospect instead of Herbis and Malkin. So that could potentially be something we look into. All right, so that's Dubnyk. What about Brule? Would he be able to give us anything? Arturi Lehkonen, damn, that's actually not bad. There's 13 different offers. We don't really need more forward prospects, though, so I'm hoping there's one with the defensive prospect, and then that might be the deal we do. Lehkonen would be nice, but do we need forwards? Not really. The second and Matthew Pekka. The second round pick could be good. Matthew Pekka, not so much. Some guys named Andersons, who's a high 9 and a third, might be solid, but once again, I prefer defensive prospects. A third and a fourth, that could potentially work. Third and Josh Anderson, don't need forward prospects. Third and a fourth. Some guy named Cox, who's a forward. A third and Murphy. So there is Connor Murphy as a defensive prospect. That might not be that bad. He is a right-handed D. I don't know what overall he is at that point. There's also him in a fourth, which isn't really much different than him in a third, I guess. A third and Xavier Ouellette. I mean, that's another defensive prospect, but worse, I would say, for sure than Connor Murphy. There's Jake McCabe and this guy named Wolski. So Vancouver's not doing too well this season, but they'd be willing to give us Jake McCabe and some medium 9. That might not be bad. There's also Brett Pesci and Ryan Sheehan. So that's another defensive prospect and a forward prospect. And then there's Corey Schneider and Riley Sheehan. We don't need Corey Schneider. So I think one of these two deals from Vancouver is what I'd be leaning towards. Let's take a look at both McCabe and Pesci, though, and see which one might make more sense for us at the moment. So if we look at McCabe at the moment, what overall is McCabe? 65 at 20. I don't know if he's going to pan out. I really don't. Was a first round pick, but damn, that's low. Wolski, who they were potentially adding, is a 60 at 19. I don't think he becomes match. And then there was Brett Pesce as the other option they'd be willing to give us. Pesce is a 67 at 19. So I'd probably take Pesce for sure over Jake McCabe. Just because obviously Pesce's younger and better overall already. But both of them might not pan out. And that's maybe why we're getting offered them. But if you guys want me to take a chance on one of these two defensemen, let me know. And maybe we'll make a move for one of them in the next episode involving Gilbert Brulé. So there's the trade offers. Let's take a look at the block too while we're at it, just to see what's out there. And then that'll probably be it for this episode at that point. We actually might look at the draft class briefly too, just because it's a generated draft class. So not too sure what to expect if there's like a franchise player this year or not. So could be interesting. Atlanta looks like they're offloading a lot of their good players, which is interesting. I guess they're not doing well enough that they want to get rid of Antropov and all that. Boston's getting rid of prospects. Obviously, if you guys see any prospects that it was not offered, we could still trade for them here too. So let's see. Andy Green, Bruno Gervais, Brandon Baczynski. Peter Forsberg still playing at 40. I'm really surprised he's still playing at 40. Like, how many games has he missed due to injury? None. Really. Actually, first season he did, but I literally made his durability so low, yet he's missed barely any games due to injury. That's kind of insane. Like, his durability is literally at 36, yet he's played 3 straight years without an injury. I don't understand the durability slider at all. Aside from that, there is an elite center prospect in Carolina. That would be nice, but we don't really need forward prospects. We are looking more for defensive prospects, if anything. Because defensive prospects is definitely what we're lacking. And that would be the thing to address. Peter Stastny, or not Peter Stastny. Why am I saying Peter? Goddamn. Paul Stastny's on the block. Goddamn. I don't know why I said Peter. But yeah, Paul Stastny on the block. I wonder if he's going to get dealt to the Blues. What else we got here? Antoine Vermette, Sean Horkov, Dallas. Just some more forward prospects. Not really seen a ton of defensive prospects that actually are good, though. What else we got here? LA, Slepishov, some guy named Niedermeyer. Salvador Niedermeyer, what a name. I was hoping that he'd be another Scott Niedermeyer or something like that. Even though the one that was in this actually is retired by now. Montreal, just some more forward prospects. Nashville, that Cox guy's on the block. Jamie Cox. Drafted by Toronto. Now, what else we got here? New Jersey. Yeah, I'm not really seeing too much for defensive prospects. There's Connor Murphy, though, who was offered to us. He's not bad. 74 high top 60 at 20. So he's almost an NHL-ready defenseman. He'd be probably a good shutdown D-man for that top 6 pairing, but I don't know if he'd be better than anything else or not. There's also Justin Hull, but Hull's obviously way worse defensively and all that. The Islanders have some veterans on the block, as they typically do, I guess. Rangers do have more young prospects on the block. I don't know what the Rangers are doing, really, because they have added some really good prospects early on. They do have a bit of an older team in some ways, too. But they have guys like this, like Jonathan Drouin, who they just drafted recently on the block. Oliver Bjorkstrand. Like, they're definitely still trying to offload prospects. Obviously, we're not looking for forwards, though. We're looking more for a defensive prospect, so I wouldn't make a trade for those guys. But, damn, there could be some interesting deals this year at the deadline. Briere and Carter being on the block. Like, I'm kind of curious if there's any blockbuster trades this season. Obviously, we might find out in the next episode, potentially, if we get the rest of the season simulated. Kunitz on the block in Pittsburgh. Good, because then that goal would never have happened. Joe Pavelski's on the block again. Same with Dan Boyle. Yeah, there could be some pretty big moves this year, potentially, if the AI wants to make big moves, that is. Max Domi on the block. Yeah, there's not really anything that I would crazily want. Like, it's mostly just veterans or forward prospects, and we don't need forward prospects. So, if we're making trades, it would probably be like those trades that were getting thrown at us, like Brett Pesce and stuff like that. Alright, or we could just trade for picks straight up if this draft class looks good. Let me take a look at the draft board. Which picks do we have this year again? We have a first, a second. We have 3 third-round picks this year. A 4th, 5th, 6th, and a 7th. So we could always try and use these thirds to move up more if this draft class is actually worth it or not. So let's take a look at the 2014 draft class, which is generated. There's a medium elite DFD supposed to go first overall. I don't know if that's worth moving up to get, but Matthew Clutterbuck. So we could say the brother of Cal Clutterbuck or something like that, I guess. Second overall, there's supposed to be Carson Webb. There's also supposed to be Holden West. We also have Gabrielle Hickman. What is your name? Cam Elliott. And that's pretty much it for elite players in the early parts of this draft. Right now, obviously, we're going to probably have a late pick. So we don't really know exactly still where we're going to draft. Oh my goodness, what the hell? I addressed the draft class quality, right, in last episode or 2 episodes ago. Because why is a low bottom 6 sniper projected to go in the first round? I am very confused on that. I'm going to pin that guy. He does not have the worst attributes in the world, though, too. If you're a low bottom 6 and you're like a 75 or something out of the draft, that'd be kind of insane. But why are you projected to go in the first round when I adjusted the draft quality already? I'm pretty damn certain on that. Like, he might be going before this elite prospect if he's one. Why is that guy projected to go so early? I am very confused. Let me sort this by potential here, see if there's any steals that are supposed to go late. Yeah, I don't know why that low bottom 6 is supposed to go first round. I don't think I've ever seen a first round low bottom 6. But this draft class, I honestly doesn't look crazy right now. Obviously, you can find out about it later, but this guy might be 2 years out. That's not bad. I'll pin him in case. But have you guys ever seen a low bottom 6 sniper supposed to go in the first round? Like, that's maybe one of the weirdest things I've ever seen. I definitely got to take a look and see if my draft class quality is up. Just because if I'm pretty sure I addressed it, but if for some reason it reset, I'm going to be kind of pissed off because that means we're going to end up drafting really bad players in the later rounds. But if we go to rules here, and if we go down to this list here, we have draft class quality and generated prospect quality both set to medium. So there should be some good players in this draft class. So for a low bottom 6 to be projected to go in the first round doesn't really make a lot of sense. That guy's very intriguing, though, just because he's got bad potential. Like, does that mean he's going to be a guy that outgrows that potential completely? Does that mean he's going to have a really high overall as a low bottom 6? Like, he's literally probably supposed to go in the same area as, like, some medium 6 forwards. But why is he ranked 15th? Like, is he just going to drop off a cliff in the second half of the season in terms of ranking, or is he going to still stay as a first-round pick? It's very weird. Good character work ethic and shot blocking. A forward with good shot blocking is weird, too. Huh. I am very confused, but at the same time, that guy could be an interesting meme pick just to see how good he actually is. Because that potential is obviously atrocious. Like, he shouldn't really do much at that potential. But if he's projected first round, maybe he can be something. I honestly don't know. That's a really weird one. But anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of Edmonton Oilers Throwback 2010 Franchise Mode. So in next episode, we will simulate more of the 2013-14 season. We'll get maybe the rest of the season done in the next episode. Really depends on how the team's doing. But we'll probably look to trade away Dubnyk. We'll try to look to trade away Brule. And I don't really know exactly what I want for them back. I don't know we need defensive prospects, but there's not really anybody crazy that's interesting. So maybe we just trade them for picks instead or something like that. But regardless, we do need to bring back maybe some salary cap to keep us cap compliant. It's been a really solid season so far, so we could still end up making the playoffs. So I'm a bit scared on that. But I'm hoping that the team is going to start to fall off a little bit because obviously I don't think we should be a playoff team necessarily. Like, we definitely should be trying to get some good picks in this year again and continuing to rebuild for at least another few more years before we actually try to make it back to the playoffs. So kind of hoping our team doesn't do good in the next half of the season. So I think down below, and I'll see you guys next time.